and we are continuing on the subject of CPK, but we will focus only on railway division. Two members of BIM team, Jacek, Filipiuk, and Patryk will speak, and the title is BIM in the railway division of CPK. Good afternoon. I'm Jacek Filipiuk, and I'm a BIM manager in CPK in the railway division, and my task is to create guidelines and BIM requirements, and also taking care of them being adhered to later on. And in my presentation, I will do my best to show you how we are utilizing BIM methodology in our projects. Our main goal in using BIM methodology on our projects is to create requirements which would be cohesive for all contractors. Our projects are there are relatively many of them, quite a large amount of them. So on the one hand, we would like all contractors to be supplying us with information in a cohesive way, in appropriate form, as needed by ourselves, and the appropriate quantity. But at the same time, we wouldn't like this to be oppressive for contractors. We do not want to create requirements which contractors would not be able to fulfill in the future. One of those problems which we are facing, especially related to overland infrastructure, is that in Poland we are rather short of guidelines, requirements, and standards regarding infrastructure. Majority of standards, descriptions, interpretations are based mainly on the volume buildings, on architecture and structures, and to a great extent on systems, installations, but both tools and standards remain with quite a lot of further requirements regarding infrastructure. Regarding road sector, these are standards by Ministry of Infrastructure, but they could also be more expanded. What we are directly involved in now are technical, economic, environmental studies. These are study elaborations, very general analytical elaborations. One could think that there is no room, perhaps, to apply BIM methodology in here, but we have created BIM requirements also at the level of this kind of study for railway and road sectors. These are requirements for creation of general models. All requirements which we have created come from sectoral coordinators on our side. So these are not bottom-up requirements which we created only for ourselves, for the BIM department. We want all what is made, all products which emerge on these projects to be used by target recipients. So at the project level, these will be our coordinators, and as a target, we want to get all participants involved, participants to projects, to be using it. Regarding requirements, regarding other sectors, not only railway and road sectors, these requirements are also in place, although there are such, strictly speaking, models at the stage of technical, economic, environmental study will not be there, but regarding 2D elaborations and saturation with information, we have also prepared those. For additionally, an important product on projects is a model, a coordination elaboration, so a model grouping all sectors in it, not only those which have 3D models, but also all elaborations of 2D character. So that coordination on those files is possibly easiest. Among these requirements which have been elaborated, there are BIM guidelines for the study I mentioned. So it is a document which is attachment, being part of tender documents. So it's an important document. Directly together with it, there is a template for BIM implementation plan. As we want the contractor to fill this document with their own information, so part of information included therein already being our guidelines, our information and description, how we would like cooperation on the project to look like. Additionally, it's the level of graphic and information level of detail on the project. A very detailed breakdown of it for the leading sectors, but for those which in technical, economic, and environmental study will be elaborating 2D, there are also requirements about information layer, this non-graphic layer. Setup of attributes has been made, so non-graphic information which we want as a target to be received from contractors at the end of the technical, economic, environmental study. And quite a big point of the study elaboration is that we are working on one single platform, that we let contractors into our platform of data exchange, documentation exchange. But about this you will hear in a further part of presentation given by Patryk, my colleague. What we want to obtain by applying our guidelines is for elaborations, for the documentation which is made at every stage to be passed over fluently to every next stage and to be by further contractors for once used for tender and implementation, but also to be saturated with additional information at each of those stages. We do not want to have a situation where from construction design, we pass on drawings in PDF form, and contractor must create their own documentation, for example, to do estimations, or we will be giving available all products which will be made, both those native formats of models and 2D elaborations, as well as in open formats. As a target, we also want all the information which will be gathered at those stages to be finally transferred to those who will be managing assets. And in requirements, there will be detailed description which information we do need, how saturated they should be, and in what form those elaborations have to be handed over later on. At this moment now, BIM guidelines are being created, guidelines of the ordering party for further stages. So please expect that at tenders for design, construction design, and later for construction implementation, these requirements will be much more detailed than at technical, economical, environmental elaboration studies. Then there will be greater requirements regarding saturation with information, as well as providing models. Here a diagram showing that Actually, if a model emerges at the stage of technical, economic, environmental study, so that contractor get it in native form and then saturate it with information on the go, and so that in appropriate form it gets to those who will be managing the assets. That's all from me. Thank you for your kind attention, and let me invite you to the next part, where you will learn details of our cooperation with contractors in one environment of data. Thank you for your kind attention. Good afternoon, a very warm welcome to all of you. Patryk, Jacek, manager of BIM Documents Control. In Central Communication Hub, I support my colleagues in Railway Division in creation of standards and design procedures. And on everyday situations, I'm updating and doing control of our EDMF temporary platform, as well as supporting users regarding efficient use of it, and in cases where they have some challenges related to it. Currently, EDMS platform is based on a SharePoint. Nevertheless, it is not a typical SharePoint. It has been equipped with a whole series of additional tools designed specially for CPK, which converted the platform into solid temporary EDMS system. Of course, access to our EDMS system is under control, and it demands of every user to be approved at the side of managing design groups at the CPK side. After acceptance of access, the user gets an invitation with all necessary links, allowing them to get logged into the project. Temporary EDMS system can be named BIM Center in CPK. It is one source of information, and it has been designed in such a way as to ensure support for projects at the implementation level. To it, we invite all users on the project, both on CPK side and as well as contractors and subcontractors. And it is aimed at providing possibly maximum coordinated projects based on companies' side and quality of products. Every design at the railway side has an identical structure of folders, which was designed so as to serve post as-built projects. And in CPK, there is a standard terminology convention where the name includes several boxes which must contain appropriate data. Both these questions, both folder structure as well as terminology conventions, have been described in company standards, which are given available to all users getting access to our resources. After this brief but necessary introduction, due to time limitation, I would like to present only some questions from the area of working with EDMS. The whole BIM team realized perfectly well that the majority of users have never ever worked on similar systems. We also know that creations and giving availability of standards is not sufficient for users to be actively and effectively working based on all these procedures of ours. Therefore, one of the tools which is aimed at helping users in efficient work in line with standards is terminology or name generator, which after getting to a location allows you to generate name in the convention, and thus generated name can be subjected to the template, and the file can be inserted to appropriate EDMS space. At this stage, it is worth mentioning that an attempt at inserting a file not in convention will be blocked by EDMS system. Additionally, in the railway area, a next tool has been introduced which decodes the name of file which has been inserted into the system. It is aimed at helping users in verification whether the name has been generated correctly, and it allows users to get to know what individual files are related to. Especially it is important at the very beginning of working with a convention of terminology, when it is still a slight secret. Additionally, all metadata included in the columns can later on be used in EDMS space for filtering appropriate demanded contents. Every file, after inserting it to EDMS, is equipped with metadata required, among which we have state and status and revision and its version known in our area. This data is controlled only by tools of workflow, and users cannot manipulate them manually anyway. The flow of workflow in CPK is used for flow of documents and approving the products. The workflow in Railway Division has several roles, including author, verifier, controller, quality controller, coordinator of the project verification teams, and project leader. A system of document flow also has two paths. One so-called long path is used to approve key documents, and because of them being important, those documents have to be approved by a greater number of people, whereas there is also a shortened path for documents which do not need approval by the leader, and such documents can be approved by coordinator of the given sector. What does the document circulation look like in EDMS system? It starts from author, who, after marking the file, sends it to the verifier. Then the document changes its metadata and its status changed for verification. People authorized to be verifiers get information about document to be verified. Author loses additional possibility on the file. The verifier can do it, and then the verifier can do one of the actions allocated to them, being approval and sending it to the leader, approval and without sending it to the leader, rejection or archiving and withdrawing the document. What is important is that each of these activities in workflow is recorded in history of the document. History contains all details regarding activities done within document circulation. Here we can see who, when carried out the given action, and we have the possibility to access all earlier version of the files, which thus eliminates the necessity to create additional files in order to save earlier versions. So this is the workflow, very briefly. Nevertheless, next of the functionalities eliminating necessity to create many files at EDMS is list of comments. In CPK, list of comments is linked directly to the file, and in order to switch over to such a list, it's enough to click on the link in appropriate column, which redirects us to the list of comments, and there we can manage all the comments. We can allocate status and number of comments, and in the comment field you can add information. Additionally, who in action informs you which institution should carry out action at the moment. Additionally, functionality of list of comments includes the possibility to display all comments for the whole project, what allows, after moving to appropriate view, allows you to see all comments related to the project, and managing groups have the possibility to have an insight and to manage globally those comments. Additionally, in Railway Division, other tools have been created which facilitate or automate certain processes and facilitate users to be able to correct possible errors. We all realize that at this stage of getting to know the standards, certain disturbances may occur, and therefore we do our best to facilitate users here. It is, among others, easiness, if necessary, to change name of the file, remove the file if needed, transfer the file, or notify of a problem with the file if the user experienced this. Ending this brief presentation, the topic of EDMS operation, I would like to highlight that the whole BIM CPK team realized that implementation of BIM methodology and getting users to know the standards requires a lot of work on our side as well. Therefore, we tend to carry out regular trainings, recorded trainings, and also involve BIM teams at the side of contractors and equip them with necessary knowledge so that they can effectively support their users in understanding BIM methodology. Thank you for your kind attention. Best regards.
Dziękuję bardzo.
Thank you for this presentation